Alright folks, welcome back to another video. This is take 2 of the video because I recorded the whole video while I was muted. Yay! So, let's redo this. Tonight, 7 p.m, my suffering begins. First you decided Kong, now we're doing Gollum. You wanted it, so you better bloody show up because I'm not suffering through this alone. We will be starting at 7 p.m. and we will be playing this for about 3 hours. 3 whole hours, man. And then we'll be switching over to the state of play, which will hopefully brighten my mood up a little bit. But guys, look, first you've done Kong, now Gollum. I'm gonna assume Quantum Error really isn't that far away. But please make sure you turn up because we should, at least you should have a lot of fun at my expense. Because, well, as you saw with Kong, I lost my goddamn mind and I'm still suffering from that mental gymnastics even to this day. Alright, so this one over here is a little disappointing as well, as layoffs continue to happen around the gaming industry, and it really does seem like that COVID bubble is well and truly burst. SEGA of America is reportedly laying off more than 10% of its staff, which is roughly about 61 to 71 members of staff that are being laid off. And as you can see here, days without layoffs in the gaming industry. It's really sad, but as I say here, I keep saying this, but the COVID bubble has burst. Be it in videos, streams that I keep saying this, but this is the aftermath of the extreme hiring to cope with the demands as video games dominated those 2 years. Between 2020 and 2022, it was massive. Gaming companies made the most money they've ever made. As less people are buying games, evidently seen by the year-on-year sales reports, which has been decreasing year-on-year, this is the after effects as development ramps down and strategies change to adapt to, less people buying the games because they're going out, they're not at home anymore. They're not locked in. A real shame, but I doubt this is the last we will hear of this. 2024 about to eclipse 2023 layoffs, and we are only in Jan. I think that's the biggest part of the disappointment, considering how much layoffs that there was in 2023, which marred a really, really good year. 2024 is about to eclipse the total layoffs, and we're only in January. We haven't even left January yet. Then we move on to this. As you can see, the Red Dragon, instead of coming out and apologizing, staying quiet, acting like a decent human being considering what he did, he's decided to double down and continue that, glamorizing the layoffs, console warring the people having been made redundant is the way to go and trying to get those clicks. But even more, disappointing. I mean, we all know that the koala man, the elevator guy, as I like to call him, because he does actually have a office inside an elevator. He's got a desk with a plant in the corner to make sure all that BO smell that comes in with all the staff members going up and down all day while he's in the elevator doing his work. Kind of the plant is supposed to kind of help with the odor, I guess. But considering he works in an elevator guy, that is why I call him elevator guy. You're free to ask him. It does trigger him to no end. But Xbold over here is doubling down and saying, you know what? I want to stand side by side next to one of the most despicable people on the internet right now, because I feel like him and me are the same. So at a time when people were looking at Elevator Guy, Xbold Gaming, and saying that you can't get any worse, you need to change. Stop being the idiot that you are. He's like, hold my beer, because there's one more in me to prove to you that I am more despicable than you can actually think. And by him deciding to double down on the Red Dragon, who has decided to double down even more after his lies, twisting of the truths, and everything else, this is how he wants to go about. I mean, it's pretty disgusting, pretty disgraceful. And you know what? I think both of them, as a dynamic duo, just work perfectly. They're both as bad as each other. And you know what? As the Red Dragon is out there tweeting, I literally can see Xbald over there with his bald head just jerking him off. That's all I can, that's all I'm going to say. Because at the end of the day, no one should be defending the Red Dragon. He's a piece of shit. But this one over here was quite amusing, right? The generic Eric said, sad that in 2024 you have a current gen console and you are playing a game from 2010. Black Ops, in my opinion, is still one of the best COD games out there to date. Right, I love that game. I spent over 400 hours on that game with my friends back then on the Xbox 360. It was great. But you know what? He's perfectly happy playing The Last of Us Part 1, Last of Us Part 1 Remastered again, The Last of Us Part 1 Remake, Last of Us Part 1 Remake Remastered, Last of Us Part 1 Remake Remastered Remake, and then do the same thing over at Last of Us Part 2. Like, he's willing to buy the same games over again. This dude over here is talking about a game that you've got on the 360, you can plug the disc in and play. It's backwards compatible, and there are loads of good games that are back in, from those days that are just amazing, right? There's so many great games from, the 360 era, the PS2 era, the Xbox One era. There are great games. Just, I think it was about a month or so ago, I put on and started playing Blinks. I saw Digital Foundry playing it, and I remembered really enjoying it, and I went back and it's still fully playable. It's a fun game. So it's nice to have that option to be able to do that. But my dude over here, AAA only, man. It's not like they're buying remasters and remakes every step of the way. The irony is real with this one, man. The irony is real. I mean, how many of you still play like your old games, like Super Nintendo games or Mega Drive games, Sega Saturn games, N64 games? I still play Neo Geo Pocket games. This next story is a good one. The Splinter Cell remake, which I'm very much looking forward to, and the next Ghost Recon is scheduled for 25-26. Now, I think Ghost Recon will probably land 25. I think Splinter Cell still some ways out and will be at 26. But Outlaws Star Wars will launch in the first half of this year, which is cool. I'm looking forward to that. And of course, Assassin's Creed Codename Red following in the second half. Again, these should be really cool, so at least we know what Ubisoft are working on this year, alongside any smaller projects that might be coming along. But clearly these two, in my opinion, are the really big ones, the ones that they're doubling down on, and I really hope, at least for Splinter Cell, it's going to be a good game, because that's what we want to see. Then we come to this. This is pretty much coming to the final part of the story. The fact that Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, reportedly only sold 300k copies is a real shame. And I said, this right here is why companies no longer experiment. Ubisoft released an amazing game, which I think it is, and one that is fairly priced, between £35 and £45, and worth your time playing. In return, because it doesn't have photorealistic graphics, is 2D, it isn't a cinematic experience, it didn't sell. Sure, Playworld did affect sales numbers, but not to this extent. Right, not to this extent. We saw Forbidden West get completely and utterly bitch slapped with Elden Ring, but not to this extent. Do not blame Sony or any other company for doing what sells. If people do something different, people just do not buy the game. And we've seen that evidently here. It just shows creativity without a huge name like Hideo Kojima behind it simply does not sell anymore, which is a real shame. I'm really disappointed that this game didn't sell. It's a really good game. Now, before anyone jumps in, I am part of the Ubisoft Connect Content Creators Program, but my thoughts are my own. And anyone that knows me on this channel will agree to that. I don't BS or anything like that. If it's good, it's good. If it's not, it's bad. But you know what? That didn't stop the many people, and there's more, right? Many people, and there's more after that as well. And those 12 things that you're seeing there on the notification, those are all for this post and the next post, because apparently if it's not on Steam, no one's going to buy it. And they're fully happy to create a monopoly within Steam. And for those of you out there that are saying that you have to have stuff exclusively on your platform to create a monopoly, that is not correct. If you own a majority of the market share, you own a monopoly. Windows platform has a monopoly. That is why they're systematically dismantling it, stopping you from putting media players on there, making Edge browser the default, which, it's not the default browser when you go on there. So, it gives you the choice when you're installing Windows if you want to use Chrome as your default browser, or Firefox or Opera GX or whatever. It never used to do that, but the regulator stepped in and made sure that they are systematically dismantling it. If you own your PC can have Linux on there if you want. It can have a Mac OS if you want, but the reality is Microsoft owns and controlling majority market share, therefore they have a monopoly. And this is dictated by the law. So anything else that you say is quite frankly irrelevant. But, you know, it didn't, all it took was for me to put this post, and more importantly, to put this one over here, why does it need to be on Steam, for me to trigger every single PC fanboy. Now, I agree with Alex on one thing. When he says they did it to themselves, imagine not having this game on Steam. I don't agree on that. I don't feel a game should need to be on Steam in order to succeed. But the fact that it does, and the playing community is doing that, even if Steam isn't doing it themselves, the playing community is pushing for Steam to have a monopoly. They are making Steam so powerful that in the end, Steam can do whatever it wants. If it turned around to Ubisoft today and said, right, I want 50% of, you know, your games to be on my platform, what can Ubisoft say? Or they turn around to a company and says, right, I want 60%. All Ubisoft can do at that point is increase their prices from 70 quid to 100 quid to compensate for it. Who's losing here? We as a consumers. But do you know what? We're also enabling this. Well, not me. You guys are. Because I don't care about the platform I buy from, whether it's Steam, GOG, or whatever. Oddly enough, I don't really buy from GOG. I don't use GOG. But I do use Ubisoft Connect, and I do use Epic Game Store. So, you know, those that are strictly Steam, you're the one enabling this. And when it does happen, you have no right to cry about it either. Now, before you go into the comments and start moaning, what right do you have to say that? I have every right to say that, because if you enable something to happen, you should not cry about the consequences. It's that simple. But the reality is, we as gamers are giving Steam way too much power. And in the end, if Steam turns around and says, hey, Capcom, if you want to put your game on here, there's a 50% tax. I want 50% of that revenue. Because Capcom, even if they release their own launcher, no one's going to use it. They have no choice, because you as a consumer will not buy it if it's not on Steam. So when Capcom turns around and says, okay, Steam, you can take your 50%, but I'm putting my game up to £120. As a PC gamer, you won't have any choice to go anywhere else, right? Because that's where you'll only buy your games. So either you're going to go piracy, or you're going to go through Steam. And obviously you don't want to go through piracy, right? Because that would defeat the whole purpose of your PC master race. Everything has to be on Steam, otherwise I won't play it. Because if you then turn around and say, if that's the case, I'm going to go piracy, then you are a full-on hypocrite. Because you are willing to go to play it through another means, just not when it doesn't suit you. Right? Yeah? Cool? Okay. But as you can see here, the DRM part I totally get. And I think, you know, Ubisoft made a full-on mistake here. I think they made a full-on mistake. They should not have put a Ubisoft. The whole purpose of that DRM to be there in reality is quite simple. To get you into the store, to get you to buy stuff from the store. That is it. It's no different to Destiny's Bright Dust, where they give you the Bright Dust to go into the store to buy stuff for Bright Dust and then see the stuff for real money and try and persuade you to go into that part of the store to buy stuff. That's it. All of the stuff that's in that Ubisoft Connect store can be inside the game earnable, and it should be earnable. It shouldn't require you to get milestones, achievements that will trigger off Ubisoft coins, and then for you to go into the store to buy them with those coins. That should not be the case. And it should never require you to actually connect to your Ubisoft Connect account. Now, the only time that it should require you, or not require, but give you the choice to do that, is if you want to enable cloud saves, because it has to save it to your profile. Then that would be okay. But it should not be a mandatory requirement. I don't agree with this, and I am full on here with Alex. The part of I don't agree with Alex is the fact that it has to be on Steam. Now, do I think it should be on all platforms? Yes. There's no reason why a game should just be on Ubisoft Connect or this. But that 30% is hurting the company. Now, is it hurting it more now because it's not on Steam? Yes. But that's a player's choice and not a company choice. The players are doing that. They're making that choice in not buying it. And that's fair. They're voting with their wallet. It just means that even though this game is good, we'll never see a sequel for it. And all we're going to see is over-the-shoulder, AAA, cinematic, story-driven games. No creativity. It's really that simple. But, you know, all I had to say on both of those threads is, why does it need to be Steam? And as we see here, there is a lot of people. There's just more replies. And you know what? This over here, it's still the same. It's all, this is it. I've triggered the whole of the PC Master Race. I didn't even mean to. I was actually trying to have a genuine conversation. Why does it need to be on Steam? Because I don't think it does. But apparently it does. Right? Apparently every one of these have believed that it needs to be on Steam in order to sell. It's still going, man. It's still going. It's still going. It's still going. It's still going. But man, that's amazing, right? That's amazing. But folks, that's the video. I'm going to have a link to this actual stream in the description below, so you can go there, click on it, and actually get notified 50 minutes before time on when the stream is going live. If you want to discuss anything from this video, leave a comment below or come to my stream tonight. We'll be starting off with Gollum. We'll be streaming it for 3 hours. 3 whole hours. 3 hours, guys. I hope you're happy with what you've done. 3 hours before we switch over to State of Play. Right. Hopefully I'll see you there. Don't forget, this is the last video of the month. We are trying to get to 6,500 subs. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I am keeping it real. It's my view. You don't have to agree with it. At the end of the day, if you don't agree with it, without you being, triggered or toxic about it, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. I'd love to have that conversation, or even extend that conversation over to the stream tonight and, have that discussion there as well. Right, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Remain legend.